right?
Yeah.
All in favor of the minutes? order our regular council meeting of July 19th, 2023. I welcome you here tonight. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Amrine.
Here.
Mr. Ferrara.
Here.
Mr. Kuhar. Ms. Rosenberg. Here. Ms. Schaefer-Bish. Here. Mr. Sidoti.
Here.
Mr. Turner.
Here.
Ms. Wellick. Here.
Okay, we have opening remarks by Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, welcome back. Mr. Amrine did a great job in your absence.
Sure,
We're
I know he will.
We're pleased to see you back and healthy and getting around, and it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Secondly, I'd like to mention that we had the opportunity to tour our new city hall that's being constructed, and a lot of times I think when we expend community dollars, sometimes it's good to give some feedback to the community, and I honestly believe after getting to see the actual bones of the thing, because there's nothing but steel and concrete and HVAC and there's electric conduit. I really believe that our community, once they have the opportunity to see the completed building, this is money well spent, and it's not only well spent. I think it's the design and what that building is going to be 100 years worth of quality work that's going to be able to stand the test of time. So I want to thank Melanie for giving us that tour, and I hope everyone has a chance at some point, once we get her open, to get into that building and take a look at what it is. Could you please stand for the national anthem? Good, John? Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I almost spoke that.
We need approval for the minutes.
I'll move the June 21st, 2023 regular meeting minutes and the July 5th, 2023 special council meeting minutes.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on it?
I need those separated.
Pardon?
I need those separated.
Mike, you want to separate it?
Yeah, we'll move the June 21st.
Is that fine with the second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion about that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
Further, one abstention.
Then I'll move the July 5th, 2023 special.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion about the July 5th meeting? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
One abstention? Two.
Three.
Three. All right. Okay, thank you. Communications, public communications. Amy, people that signed in.
We do. First up is Mr. Doug Fuller.
Just a minute, Doug. Well, the law does not require council to provide time for the public to comment. We have historically invited the public to make comments, and we appreciate their input. This is a time when the residents and others can comment on matters that concern them. However, we will not engage in any debate, and as President of Council, I reserve the right to end any public comments that are disruptive, embarrassing, harassment, or otherwise objectionable. We ask that you come to the podium, give your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to share your concern with us.
Thank you. My name is Doug Fuller. I live at 1431 River Edge Drive in Kent. I've been an architect in Kent for 44 years. I'm here to, unfortunately, my summer schedule has made it so I couldn't attend during your meetings when community development has been discussing the design guidelines with you directly. So I decided to take my 3 minutes, and I've already lost too much. One is, I wish we had had at the beginning a real community discussion, not separating a small group of people into 20 different groups and collecting information and then disseminating that information, never having any cross-fertilization between ideas, between thoughts. We could be done with this thing by now if it had been held in a proper, I'd say, democratic fashion where citizens' input is taken and applied. But with that said, that's water around the dam, as we say in Kent. First, I want to say Bridget Tipton was here at the meeting. I can't tell you how fortunate we are as a community to have Bridget Tipton committing her, appears to be her life, as an architect, designer, a business owner, a renovator of buildings. I tell you, my tip of the hat to her and her whole family for what they're doing. We are so fortunate to have her here. Okay. I agree with a lot of the changes in the design guidelines, but there's huge gaps in the things that have been done. Bridget outlined for you some quick bullet point items that were mentioned by Architecture Review, Planning Commission, all of those meetings that she's had. Those being historic preservation wasn't mentioned, adaptive reuse, demolition wasn't mentioned. Can you believe it, with the problem we had a few years ago with demolition, where we lost an icon of a building because the community had no idea and changes might have happened? So demolition needs to be addressed really beyond the downtown historic area, but throughout the city. Design guidelines on new buildings, I couldn't agree more. Boy, there's little in there. In the boundaries of it, if you happen to have read the January 20th items that were put out by the consultant, they said in there that design guidelines cannot go beyond a specific district, a zoning district. That's just, I don't know where that came from. You can, I'm sorry, Melanie's job, she has served and maybe still serves in her town on Architecture Review Board. In their historic district, I think goes through 5 or 6 different districts. So I don't know where this kind of information comes from. 2 other major things that were in there, and they were in there, I was quoted in the minutes that says, Doug Fuller says, "It is worthless." Okay, that was a very short summary of what I said. I said it was worthless because here's the quote. On the first page where the specifics of who we are as a city and what we're looking for is stated, it states, compliance with the design guidelines is not mandatory. Excuse my French, but then what the hell are we doing? If it's not mandatory, if there's not something that we as a community say that we have a standard that we ought to meet, then why are we doing it? If a developer or building owner doesn't have to apply 2 reasonable standards, then there's no need of doing this, because it says right there, it's voluntary. I hope you see that. And it amazes me, this has been going on now for over a year and a quarter, year and a half. The consultant has addressed you, I think, at least 2 times, and nobody asked you if there should be anything mandatory about the design guidelines. Why aren't you asked? This is a cornerstone of what design guidelines are about, and you weren't even asked about it. Your opinion wasn't sought. It boggles my mind. And what the role of the ARB will be. It was stated just at your last meeting, well, we can't decide what the ARB's role is going to be until these are done. It's the opposite way. You have to decide whether you've got an ARB and whether that is worthy of what we're going to do as a community and what their role is. Okay. The last couple of things. I said in the ARB meeting that, and I want you to know, Bridget keeps referring to lawsuits, and I understand that lawsuits are a pain in the neck. The Architecture Review Board, in over 30 years of existence in the city, has never once been sued because of a decision or a agreement that they forged with a developer or a building owner. Hasn't happened once. So don't let the idea of lawsuits scare you. If the design guidelines are written appropriately and applied appropriately, you won't have that. And we haven't had a problem with it in the city, so let's not make it one.
Can you wind it up, Doug? Your time's almost
I'm
up.
winding it up. Flexibility. You know, people are fearful about flexibility. Well, look at the buildings that have been done under the design guidelines. Ron Burbick he wanted something that looked very historic. You look at our own new City Hall, certainly is very unique. Fire station is, and certainly the police station is extremely unique. All of those came within the design guidelines and got certificates of appropriate, and not to mention the new building going up on Franklin and Erie. I mean, when you see the final project, it'll be a great discussion. I'm sure some will love it, some won't. But that's okay. It got a certificate of approval. So the Architecture Review Board has, I think, done their job well in working with these buildings and doing it. So I hope I really hope that a couple of you will really get involved in this process so that you know what these words are, concepts are, so that you learn when we're talking about whether it's mandatory or not, that you understand where communities have the right to set standards. They have the right to say to the collective community that we have standards about buildings, and renovation of buildings and new buildings. And I do hope that you will back that as we're coming up. I'm very happy to hear that it will be coming back to you after it's reviewed again. I am concerned that the professionals aren't being involved in that, and our own community development department does not have any background in what they're saying they're going to be addressing with all these issues that haven't been addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Further, Amy?
Ms. Sherry Rose.
Name and address, I'll give you more than 3 minutes, because Doug took more than 3 minutes, as usual.
Well, if I timed it correctly, it'll be 3 minutes. All right. Sherry Rose, 1768 Elm Drive, Kent. I am here today as the president of the League of Women Voters of Kent. The League is a nonpartisan, grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights, to ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. While the times have certainly changed, our mission remains steadfast: to protect and expand voting rights, empower voters, and defend democracy. It is no secret that our direct democracy is under attack. The sanctity of our elections is in peril. New voting regulations and laws threaten the rights of many registered voters and their access to the ballot box. Now, with the August 8th special election, and the sacred principle of one person, one vote is being threatened. Special interests are trying to permanently change our state's constitution for their favor. This is not democracy. Allowing a small group of voters to make decisions for all citizens is not democracy. Since 1913, a total of 227 constitutional amendments have been proposed for the people of Ohio. That includes amendments proposed via the General Assembly, a constitutional convention, and by citizens' initiative. Proponents of Issue 1 say citizens have it too easy when it comes to proposing constitutional amendments. We disagree. In fact, the General Assembly, not citizens, have sent a staggering 156 of the 227 total constitutional amendments since 1913. In contrast, citizens groups have proposed only 71 of that 227, of which only 19 have passed. Getting amendments to the ballot has never been easy, and getting them passed is even harder. And yet, Issue 1 will be the third time the General Assembly proposed a constitutional amendment in the last 273 days. As John Lewis stated in his final column in the New York Times, the vote is the most important nonviolent change agent you have in a democratic society. Our vote is our voice. Without majority rule, our precious democracy is in jeopardy. Residents of the city of Kent take pride in its long history of democratic action and ideals. May this legacy be honored and upheld, even through the challenges and the threats we face today. We are asking the Kent City Council to join the Akron City Council, the Summit County Council, and the over 240 organizations, including the League of Women Voters, AFL-CIO, and the Fraternal Order of Police, to oppose Issue 1 and to uphold the sacred principle of one person, one vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Further, Amy?
That's it.
That's it? Written communications, please.
The Standing Rock Cemetery Board of Trustees agenda for July 13th was received June 29th, 2023. Board of Health agenda staff report for July 10th was received July 6th. An email from Rick Hoxley in regards to the design guidelines was received and forwarded to Council on July 5th, 2023. And then additional communication received. The Parks and Recreation Board packet for their meeting on July 20th was received on July 14th. And an email from Julie Morris, Sustainability Coordinator, regarding the Haymaker Farm Tour being held on Sunday, July 23rd, was received and shared with Council on July 18th, 2023. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, city manager report, Mr. Amrine.
Yeah, I'd like to move items 1 through 11 on the city manager's report.
Second.
Second by John Guhar. Questions?
Just a comment, if I could.
Go ahead, now's the time,
Well, thank you.
as long as it's on the motion.
It is. I just wanted to extend a thank you to the Kent J.C.'s for their donation to the Parks and Rec Teen Scavenger Hunt. I love it when our organizations support our Parks and Rec and our schools, and I think it's fantastic, and it's much appreciated.
Okay, any other comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you, Jack. Is there further, Mr.?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Again, committee, first one's committee of the whole. I need a motion for the July 5th committee meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Second by Ratten. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
2 abstentions. I need a motion for the action recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jack. Is there any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that both pass. Would the clerk read in title only draft number 2023-040? In title only.
Draft 2023-040, an ordinance approving the current replacement pages to the City of Kent codified ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wellick?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Gwen.
Sure.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wellick?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-040 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Into community development, Mr. Kuhar.
Yeah, I would move to approve the minute for July 5th, 2023, and there are no actions.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign,
Abstain.
and 1 abstention. Okay, moving on into health and public safety, Mr. Amrine.
Yes, I'd like to move the minutes from the July 5th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Abstain.
sign,
Abstain.
1 abstention.
And I'd like to,
2, who was the other one?
Got it.
Okay,
move the 1 action recommended.
Second.
second by Garrett. Is there any discussion on the action? Heidi?
Yeah, I do have a discussion. First of all, I'm really grateful that we're trying something different. The other thing was I thought it was 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, so that was that might have gotten changed, but I'm willing to go with it to 11 because this is an experiment and we can bring it back for refinement. I think it's really important that we do track complaints as much as we can. Any calls in, no matter what happens, we need to track the complaints. We need to track also whether we need to survey somehow the business community as well. But I think it's very important to get the feedback from the community in various ways.
Further, Mike?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on that because I think the chief said that they didn't have very many calls that they tracked because they said there was a mix-up with the no noise ordinance downtown, and I was just wondering how they were going to track that if it's not against the ordinance, but if they get a call, are they going to document who calls and for whatever? You know what I mean? I just want to make sure that that's documented to make sure, because they didn't give anything. That's all.
Roger, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I would concur that since this is a temporary thing and it's an experiment, in all experiments you want to get the data. So I think it's real, I hate to put it on our chief, but anytime we get a call, I think we need to have that documented so that we have the data. So at the end of this experiment, we can actually sit down and look at that data and see, is it working, is it not working, how do we tweak it, those type of things. So I agree. And as long as that's part of the deal, then I support this.
Okay, any more comments? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, would clerk read draft number 2023-041 in title only?
Draft 2023-041, an ordinance amending Section 509.12 of the codified ordinances of the City of Kent titled Unlawful Noise and declaring an emergency.
Go ahead.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by John. Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by John. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-041 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Finance Committee, Mr. De Leon.
Yes, I'd move the July 5th, 2023 committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain. Abstain.
Opposed, now two abstentions. All right,
Okay. There's four recommendations. Anybody want them split? If
Second.
not- Okay.
you second it?
You want to split?
No, I'll move the four.
Any discussion on the actions? All right, no discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2023-42 in title only?
Draft 2023-042, an ordinance authorizing the city budget and finance director and law director or their designees to sign an employment contract between the City of Kent and David Ruller and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Garrett. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-042 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2023-43 in title only?
Draft 2023-043, an ordinance authorizing the City of Kent to submit 2 funding applications totaling $622,700 and to execute the subsequent agreements with the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, and to accept the grants if awarded with corresponding appropriation of funds and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Second.
Mike?
Yep.
Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Garrett. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-043 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2023-044 in title only?
Draft 2023-044, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to accept grant funding for the Kent Police and Fire Departments in the amount of $34,000 from the ARPA First Responder Wellness Recruitment, Retention, and Resiliency Grant Program for the purpose of recruiting and hiring first responders and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Roger. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Oh, second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-044 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2023-045 in title only?
Draft 2023-045, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2022-138, the current appropriation ordinance passed December 21st, 2022, so as to adjust appropriations, transfers, and advances from the various funds of the City of Kent to individual accounts for the current expenses of the city for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2023-045 passes.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2023-46 in title only?
Draft 2023-046, a resolution allowing the city manager or his designee to apply for federal congestion mitigation/air quality funds programmed by the Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study, AMATS, to construct the State Route 59 Alternative Transportation Improvement Project and declaring an emergency.
Go ahead.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by John. Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Garrett. Discussion on this, Heidi?
All I want to say is, I think this is, I'm looking forward to this project, which if it is what I think it is, it's kind of the phase after the Main Street, which is in front of the campus. This takes it down into the township, which is in desperate need of a pedestrian and bike-friendly uplift and safety, as well as aesthetics. They're really important. So I'm excited about that project.
Further discussion? John?
Ditto.
Ditto? Sounds good to me. Anybody else? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-046 passes.
Okay, thank you. That's all for committee discussion. And is there any unfinished business? Tracy?
Can I get a button, please?
Uh-oh, no campaigning here.
Ah.
Get it afterwards.
It's an issue, not a candidate.
Afterwards.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
Sorry,
That's
it's one of these things, 50-50 in the seat. Any other unfinished business?
That wasn't.
I-
No, we're waiting for new business. Yeah,
All right. New business.
Jack.
Jack?
Yeah, I would like to move that we, as the city council, adopt the resolution sent to us from the League of Women Voters.
Second.
Who seconded it?
Gwen.
Gwen?
Can I discuss?
Further discussion?
You know, I taught state and local government for many years. In fact, Ms. Rose was one of my students.
Star student, you meant to say.
She was a very good student. But I guess my question is, how many rights are we willing to give up as Ohioans? I mean, I taught my students the importance of referendum, of initiative, and these are sacred to me. These are rights that we as citizens hold. We have the power to not only introduce laws, but to remove unjust laws as well. You know, just months ago, the legislators voted that, you know, August special elections should be done away with because they were expensive and they were poorly, there was poor turnout. But now it's okay. You know, I think it's just the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in my life. Voters will be asked to get rid of the principle of one person, one vote, and replace it with minority control when it comes to citizen-led constitutional amendments, not amendments introduced by the legislature. 40% of voters will call the shots for the majority. How is that democracy? How is that fair? I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to give up any of my rights as an Ohioan. You know, I think our great president, President Lincoln, said it best. Government by the people and for the people. And that's where I'll end.
Okay. John, you're next.
You know, I was looking this over, and I kind of have mixed feelings about it. The one thing that I like is that you have to get the signatures from all 88 counties, not just half the counties. Because I don't know what the numbers were in the last gubernatorial election, but you take that down to under 88 counties, it's not very many, it's sometimes very small number of people to get things on initiative. But on the other hand, when you start talking 60% of the voters, that kind of rubs me wrong because, you know, it's not a simple majority. So for that reason, I'm just going to abstain from a yes or no. But I'm not. I don't like breaking the 50%.
Are you done, John?
Yeah, I'm done.
I hear you looking up the stairs. I thought we're going to get another guardian angel down here. Who is it, Heidi?
It bears repeating something that Ms. Rose said, which is that of the initiatives that were brought forward by citizens that made it to the ballot, only 19 passed, and that's 50% plus one. What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? They're afraid of us. They're afraid of us people. And I am very offended by this as well. And it's going to boomerang for other issues, you know. It's really not, this is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democrat, Republican. This is an issue. This is about our democracy and whether we as citizens have power or don't have power. How many of those 19 citizen initiatives would have passed if there was a 60% margin? Would have even made it to the ballot if they had to get all 88 counties and all these other hoops you have to jump through. These are people that, you know, are by and large volunteers working very hard to be heard by their government, and we have this right. And I'm with Jack. This is a horrible thing to give up. I'm hoping that people will make it out to the polls to vote, but it's also, this is very deceptive having it be in August.
Next. Robin, I'll come back. I was going down that way. Tracy, did you have your hand up?
Oh.
Anybody else this way? Roger.
Well, it's interesting. I read the resolution when it was sent to us, like Jack did, and being a former government and economics teacher and a history teacher and everything. There was something that it reminded me that, and it was David Thornburg, and I happen to have this because it's taped above my desk, and I've had it above my desk for years, and it says, if I have to scream to be heard, then my message is wrong. And interestingly enough, I keep hearing the legislature screaming and screaming. I mean, that's what they do. And I think that part of it is that they have failed to extend a real message as to get people behind what they really want. It's a small minority. I don't understand how you can take away something that we all believe, we've been taught as a child, an American value, that 50% plus one means that you prevail, not 60% that you prevail. And if, you know, I can remember as a kid when if a person lost, you know, like if you're picking up teams and a person gets voted, you know, they didn't get on the team they wanted, and they grab their ball and they go home and they kick and scream. That's not very American. That's not who we are. That's not who we're about. If you lose, you stand up and you lose, and you try to have a better message the next time. You don't keep beating people over the heads with the same message. You don't keep screaming that message. You just, like a drumbeat, you keep working the message. If it gets rejected, it gets rejected by one vote. So, yeah, I have a hard time, Jack, like you do. I just don't get why we would make this change when at the core of American philosophy is one man, one vote, 50% plus one. And so, yeah, I'll support the resolution.
Garrett, do you have anything? Robin?
Yes. It's pretty simple. I do understand. This is about constructing advantage. People in power acting in special interest, constructing an advantage that down the road will change. Because when they're not in power, they will be populist again. Right now, they're professing to be populist, but they're not. They're diminishing the capacity of one man, one vote. And so right now, people have to understand this is just about people taking advantage while they have the power to do so. And ultimately, I think that we as Ohioans have to be smart enough and looking at the balance, because believe me, the pendulum does shift. And we will be back later where they'll be saying that that is not something that they want to have as a rule. So my hope is that people turn out and vote in their interest, because majority rule, 50 plus 1, is that interest. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let's call for the vote. You want to call for the vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, anybody?
Aye.
One? I'm going to comment on it. It's going to take the people to go vote. It's specialized out there to be an inconvenience for people to go to the polls.
I had an abstention on that, by the way.
Oh, one abstention. And Jack, I got to admire you got history coming out of you. I just love it. All right, is there any other new business? Tracy?
Yeah, I want to say climate change is here. I mean, we can see it. We can see it in the air coming from Canada and stuff. And we need to start doing whatever we can, no matter how small it is, to combat it. So I would like to bring back to committee talking about unoccupied cars idling.
Unoccupied
Cars idling.
idling? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion, Tracy?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I missed the discussion last time, but I think last time we were looking at other states and what they were doing, and it got so complicated that it was almost worthless. So I'd like to simplify it the next time around.
Further, Tracy?
No.
I mean, Heidi? Anybody else? John?
Didn't we research that, and we do have an ordinance on the books for that? Nothing?
City vehicles.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Two, I think no. Okay, council comments, anybody? None? Mayor's report? None. Just have to say it's beneficial for this board. I said when the mayor goes down for his second knee, to have Jack carry on. Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're adjourned. We're going to go into executive session. We need a...
I'd like to move an executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Second, roll call.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish? Yes. Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yeah.
Ms. Walling?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have to ask you to leave the room. Pass your pens out. I want one too.
Hey, how,